Schoolboys to Geek Salad's retro movie review from the Geek Salad podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
I'm Todd.
And, well, Todd, welcome back, man.
Thank you. Happy to be back.
Yeah, I kind of feel like you are both Marcus Brody and Sala. You skipped out somewhere in the middle, but you're back, and you're better than ever.
And I'll find my way around that library like nobody's business. I'm back, baby.
Yeah. So tonight we are talking about the 1989 classic Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So I already know Mike's answer on this, Todd. So let me ask you, is this your favorite or are you a Raiders guy?
Well, right now he's just taking a really, really long sip of water.
I was just thinking the same thing. He is very, very frozen right now.
No, you should let it go.
I'll let it go right now. Well, while he's unfreezing, I will ask you, Mike, when was the first time you saw this in the theater?
In the theater? I don't think I've ever.
Oh, you didn't see this in the theater. That's right.
Yeah.
So where was I'm texting him right now.
More than likely VHS.
Okay.
Oh, there he goes.
There he goes. Okay, he'll be back.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
We probably rented it. Probably rented it around the same time that we rented Raiders of the Lost Ark, to be honest.
Yeah. It's interesting for me because I didn't see like Temple of Doom for a very long time. And I skipped it in the theater. And then it just kind of like went by the wayside where I never watched it. I'm gonna text him. You talk a little bit about the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay. It's a good movie.
Yeah. It is a very good movie. Now, as we discussed on our Raiders of the Lost Ark show. Oh, you got him back?
Yeah, you're not drinking anymore.
Here I am.
I thought I lost you, boy.
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the humidity, but my internet hates being on and alert and active, and I get it.
It's Spectrum.
Yes, that's the solution.
Yeah, I wasn't going to name drop.
Yeah, no, I am.
It's
so,
awful.
Cramney, what were we asking Todd? Oh, yes, Todd, where does this sit in your ranking? Is this your number one?
This is a solid 1B for me. Raiders is 1A. I put it right on the same plane as Raiders. Raiders is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. It's amazing. And I'm sorry I wasn't here for the review. But Last Crusade is right there, 1B. It's got the same magic and wit as Raiders.
So you're not breaking the tie, in other words.
No. If I have to choose, I'm usually siding with Andy on this.
Yeah.
On everything. Maybe that's why he likes me so much.
Yeah. I kind of feel like, well, like I've said in the past, there is no wrong. If it's either Raiders or Last Crusade, there's no real wrong answer. With that, I will accept either as a viable answer. And the interesting thing is that they're both great movies, and they're both part of this great franchise, but they're very different movies.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about it, it's just in terms of, one came out at the very beginning of the decade, the other came out at the end of the decade. And you can tell that influence that the 80s had in molding a very, very funny action movie like Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What were you going to say, Todd?
No, I was just going to say, I agree with you. You can't go wrong with Raiders or Last Crusade. I actually watched Temple of Doom the most as a kid. May have something to do with my dark personality now. I don't know. But either way, yes. So yeah,
you're a virgin to Indian food.
Exactly. Snake surprise. I actually do love Indian food. So
yeah.
Todd.
Yeah.
So do I. But nobody's ever fed me chilled monkey brains either. So I was just telling Mike actually when you dropped off that Temple of Doom is a weird one for me. It's the one I've seen the least amount of times. It's the one I don't get the curiosity watch or like I haven't watched that in a while. I'm gonna pop that in. I haven't watched that one in a while. And because I just love I hold the other two so much in a so much higher esteem, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I watched it a lot growing up because my brothers are just that much older than me, and they were allowed to watch the PG-13 movies. And I was, that came out before I was born. Sorry. But, it's one of those things. It's one of those movies that I probably shouldn't have watched so much as a kid, but did. And then when I went to watch Last Crusade, it was so much lighter in tone than Temple of Doom and even Raiders at times. It's got so much more of that almost slapstick comedy because of Sean Connery and because of Brody. I don't know the actor's name off the top of my head, but
Denholm Elliott.
Denholm Elliott. I did know it, but it's fine. Long day.
Yeah, I mean,
it has that slapstick and very lighthearted, material for something so dark. Nazis, like, okay, here we go.
I mean, Temple of Doom is a solid movie. It's got some really good. I mean, the minecart chase at the end is just fantastic. But every friggin' time Kate Capshaw decides to scream her head off, I just want to shut the whole thing down. It's just, I really dislike her character that much. For the movies.
Yep. Oh yeah, she's not great.
She was just banging the director. So I mean,
that being said, I do think Elsa is the best looking of the Indiana Jones women there, but obviously she's oh boy, she's a bad one. Oh, Boise.
It's
Spoiler
weird
alert.
with Elsa. Like, I never felt like Elsa had evil in her heart. She just wants to get what she wants to get, and just morals be damned with that.
I mean, in a sense, she's kind of like Belloc from Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she's not doing it for out of evil intention. She just wants the Grail, and the Nazis are just her easiest path to get that.
Also, only saw it as a prize.
Yeah, she's an opportunist, just like
Belloc.
Yeah,
Belloc.
just like Belloc. I mean, hers. I was actually a little shocked at her death.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just it's interesting because you're already gotten to that point, but she's still there, and you just think, okay, maybe she'll make it out, and then Indy will just kind of, give her the cold shoulder, or she thinks she gets away with the Grail, and it's nothing, and then, but nope, just into the void,
into the abyss. Unbelievable.
One might say into the unknown. But like we were talking about, like Temple of Doom, and like how slapsticky that was, and I think that for a movie that came out in 1984, it kind of learned the wrong lessons from how to do action slapstick, whereas Last Crusade learned all the right lessons with 5 years in between the movies to get it right.
Well, I mean, it was really kind of like around 84, 85, 86 that all the really good kind of 80s comedies started coming out, and 80s action comedies like Goonies, Gremlins, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gave the right answers to Spielberg, whereas before that he really didn't have much but like late 70s or early 80s stuff, which really didn't do action comedy all that well.
Right.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I agree with you on that. But I think it also has to do with the cast. I mean, this cast is honestly might be a better cast movie, I think, than Raiders, because I couldn't believe how much chemistry Sean Connery had with Harrison Ford.
I mean, right from the very first scene together, it was just brilliance on screen. It was amazing.
I love the fact that Sean Connery is only 8 years older than Harrison Ford or something like that. And
I think he's 16 years older, but still not old enough to be his dad.
Exactly. But you're right. I just think of the Zeppelin scene. Just everything he does. Where what about the boat? The boat. He's brilliant.
Look what you did. I can't believe what you did. He just kills those guys.
The look that he gives him on the bike in the sidecar after he jams the flag into the spokes of the motorcycle, and he's like, they have such good chemistry.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
And just, I mean, and that's the thing too. Like stuff like when they're in the mansion, and there's fire all around them, and it's just like that. Dad, what? Dad, what?
The floor's on fire.
Son, Dad, don't get sentimental right now. Floor's on fire. But it's just undeniable how good those two are together. And having Connery and Brody together is like the old school scholars. Is a lot of fun, especially when they first see each other in the tank.
Oh, and they do their little they
do their little
amazing
little skull and crossbones thing.
So are they Freemasons?
They could be.
They could be. You're right. I don't think anybody could get into the annals of academia in the 1930s the way that they did if they weren't Masons.
Fair enough.
For sure.
Now I'll leave that in the discussion for anybody who wants to comment as to whether or not the both Henry Jones and Marcus Brody were Freemasons
in Utah.
Exactly.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. What's interesting about that opening scene? First of all, when I first saw this, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting kind of the Indiana Jones origin story told in like a tight 20 minutes. And it's just, I think River Phoenix did a really great job with just his delivery of lines, especially when he sees that they're taking the cross of Coronado and that snake crawls across his friend and his friend freaks out like, just relax. It's just a snake. And it was just pitch perfect Harrison Ford delivery.
Yeah,
for sure.
I really enjoy every piece of that scene.
Yeah,
I love that they put him in the tiger cage to get the lion to get the scar on Harrison's chin.
Yeah,
that was a brilliant way to do it.
Well, and that's the interesting thing too, is that that's like anytime anyone plays a younger Harrison Ford, they have to explain the scar some way. I don't quite remember if we saw that in Solo or not, but
yeah, I don't think so. Not specifically.
Okay.
But I could be very, very wrong.
I have to rewatch it.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched. Well, I watched Solo like 2 months ago. I still don't remember it, but
doesn't it feel like forever ago? Honestly, isn't it? Doesn't that feel like forever ago? 2 months.
Yeah,
it does. It does. I mean, my God, it's all I've done this summer is talk old movies.
You love it.
I do love it. This is like the only conversations I get now are, I get to sit around. I get to talk about a 31-year-old movie for about an hour, which is awesome.
I'm into it.
And then, we're going to be talking about novelty songs.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, Mike, not to throw too much behind the curtain here, get your list into me, please.
Oh, yeah.
God damn it. So anyway, back to the movie.
Casting. Keep going with the cast.
All right, yes. Well, yeah, John Rhys Davies as Sala.
Yep.
I mean, it's always good to see more of him back.
Oh.
He was so great in the first one.
But you know what the best part about it was, too? I think he was actually better comic relief in this movie. The whole thing with the camels.
Yeah.
My brother-in-law's car.
I mean, he was a solid comedic relief in both movies because the first movie didn't have as much comedic relief as this one did.
I think actually it was more because there were like in Raiders there were periods where he was very, very solemn and very, very serious about don't go looking for the lost Ark, Indy, and just
bad dates.
Bad dates, exactly. But with this movie, there's a lot more there was way more comedy. I mean, I think the most serious he got was it's in the belly of that steel beast.
Mm.
But yeah,
but I would say the biggest comedic relief in this one was Brody.
yes. Yeah. Well, I don't really feel like Brody got that much to do in Raiders to give him not only this thing that he is this amazing professor, but he's also a doddering fool who got lost in his own museum.
He's got a 2-week head start. You'll never see him. Never find him.
And that's the thing too, is that smash cut right to him in that Calcutta street.
Just bumbling fool.
Does anybody here speak English or maybe ancient Greek?
So you got Grandmeister Pycelle himself, Julian Glover.
Yes, I actually saw Julian Glover in London in Richard II.
Nice.
And he really is a chameleon when it comes to the types of roles that he plays.
Colonel Veers.
He was General Veers.
Oh, General Veers.
Empire Strikes Back. He was in this. Grandmeister Pycelle.
I gotta tell, when I saw him as Grandmeister Pycelle, when I started watching Game of Thrones, I'm like, is that the guy from Last Crusade? Like, is that the old guy? Yeah, the guy who becomes old. You know what I mean?
Right. Why can't I remember his name now?
Julian Glover.
Julian Glover?
No, not Julian Glover. The character name.
Character name.
Is this a movie or play?
Walter Donovan.
Walter Donovan. We're talking about the movie. We're talking about his character in the movie we're talking about.
Okay, I thought you were talking about some other one of the other things you were talking about.
Yeah, I just loved it too because he's kind of like Elsa, but even more so.
Yeah,
it's like they're all just variations of Belloc, but whereas Belloc actually does a little bit of legwork, Donovan is just there to pay goons, hired goons to do his dirty work for him. And
he was also in a few episodes of Doctor Who.
Yes, he was.
Mainly with Tom Baker.
If I'm not mistaken, I think my wife actually did a master class with him when she was in London.
Ooh.
So she just got in, so I could probably shout up and ask her, but I'm not going to do that because that would just be rude.
Sorry, Andy. I love Julian Glover's performance, especially at the end when they cross the invisible bridge into the Grail Keepers. For a scene that could have gone so poorly in terms of the dramatic tension of it,
yeah,
right? They nailed that scene and they made it have some emotional weight. And I think Julian Glover has a lot to do with that, and his obsession with finding this cup and just like and then the disappointments there and then all the special effects, but still I think he has a lot to do with the success of that scene.
Actually, while we're on it, can we just say that bridge is some of the best matte painting work I've ever seen in my life. I mean, that was legit. They actually painted the bridge like that and shot it just right. I mean, it is stunning.
Blew my mind.
Yeah,
that was amazing because I always look for that. Every time I see the movie, I look for that. I just look to see if it's always been in front of you or if it just happens when you're just as you're watching it. Hey, I got a question for you. You did a master class with Julian Glover, right? Okay. That's all I wanted to know. I wanted to make sure.
He's a nice guy.
He's a nice guy. Okay. Oh, Todd says hi.
Hi.
We did the Julius Caesar riot speech.
They did the Julius Caesar riot speech.
Perfect.
And he is a very nice guy. Thank you, love.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Todd.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, Mike, sorry. I gotta remember which way I'm going when I'm going on. Very easy. I'm just like, I could just do this. It's like,
yeah, there you are.
I know, and I'm still like, there's this one area of this side of my hair, and I'm like, just no, just
Yeah.
I just can't. I just can't. So anyway, actually, I gotta say, all three of those trials were really cool. You know, kneel before the breath of God. You know,
the name of God.
The name of God, and then the Stones, Jehovah, which always makes me think of Life of Brian.
Begins with an I. Just don't worry
about it. Starts with an I.
Yeah. I love Sean Connery when he's got the gunshot wound. Oh man, he's so good.
Yeah,
that connection that they've got going.
Even there's the little just pangs of just agony where he's just like, ugh. It's Sean Connery, and he's so good.
Yeah, it is astounding. Just this movie in general. That, I mean, you can name very few part 3s that are at least as good as the original.
Mm.
And, you know, in some cases, you can get that arguably better than the original, Mike.
Yeah, arguably, yes.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it's not like it's a part 4. When was the last time you saw a part 4 that was actually better than everything else, huh?
Give me some time to think about it.
You will not find it here.
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
Oh, wait. No. Batman and Robin.
All right, to both of you guys. There we go. I will hurt people.
Oh, where'd the love go?
You brought up Batman and Robin, Mike. But yeah, it is astounding how just it's almost like they took what didn't work about Temple of Doom. Let's make it. Let's just figure out what worked, what didn't work, and then we're going to jam pack it into what will conceivably be the last Indiana Jones movie. And for many people, it is the last Indiana Jones movie.
Mm.
And just have a blast with it.
And they do.
And I mean, this may actually be the more quotable of the two movies.
I would agree with that.
I mean, by a hair, yeah, I would say.
I mean, you've got such great lines like, you know, it belongs in a museum. So do you.
The dog was Indiana. It's my personal favorite.
We named the dog Indiana. I love the fact that the dog was a Malamute, who was also the inspiration for Chewbacca.
Exactly.
You're named after the dog.
Follow me, Indy. I know the way.
Well, follow me.
Watch
own museum.
Yep.
The whole thing and the way I entered the show with that, you should have seen your father. He was giddy as a schoolboy. You mean Attila the Professor? He was never giddy, even as a schoolboy.
And X never, ever marks the spot.
What a great payoff.
That was a fantastic payoff. That, you know, when they're actually having the conversation about Elsa, it's like, I'm just as young as the next guy. I was the next guy, Dad.
She talks in her sleep.
And the big one, Nazis. Hate those guys. And even like that, like the book burning. That scene is just, first of all, I think it shows a lot with Elsa's character that she is not fully subscribed to the Nazi philosophy. She's in it for the prize at the end.
Right.
But just that bit where they get the diary back and they just bump right into Hitler and he just signs it. And then 4 years later, Spielberg would make Schindler's List.
Apparently, the guy playing Hitler was like so good that Spielberg told him, "Yeah, you're fantastic. I really hate you right now."
We haven't really talked about the tank scene, which I think is kind of the centerpiece action.
It's the Last Crusade version of the truck chase.
Or
It
it's
is.
the Last Crusade version of the Shia LaBeouf swinging through trees with monkeys.
Well, yeah, just getting
Yeah.
faced up by that monkey. Yeah, that
If you
scene.
want to have a little different, spin on that scene.
Or the Last Crusade version of the minecart chase.
I like mine better. I'm kidding. I don't.
No, you're fair. That's right.
At all. I don't. I'm kidding. Like,
Real quick, real side question for y'all. When was has anybody seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull recently?
I think the last time I saw it, it was in theaters.
Okay,
I
Todd.
might have caught a little bit on TV at some point within the past 5 years, but
I don't think that I have ever taken the Blu-ray out of the pack because I have the Indiana Jones saga on Blu-ray.
The last time I've experienced anything the King of the Crystal Skull, I was playing the Lego version of the video game.
Yes, Indiana Jones Lego 2, which is primarily Crystal Skull.
Yeah, it's basically you do a couple of Crystal Skull missions to unlock the other movies. Then you got to go back to Crystal Skull, and they give Crystal Skull 2 sections. Because it was the new shiny one.
the shiny one.
And I think it came out just as Crystal Skull did, so they thought it was going to be a bigger hit than it actually was.
It did really well.
I mean, like critically and fan based.
Okay, yeah, all right, I gotcha. Not in the all important money end of things.
Yeah, not the financial sense.
It was no Dark Knight, but apparently Iron Man was no Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Just putting it out there.
There you go.
You may take it or you may push it back. That is quite all right. But back to Last Crusade, which is an awesome movie. The John Williams score, actually, I love that they actually did something a little different with a lot of the things. I just looked up and saw that both of you are missing right now. What the hell?
Oh, you're on your own.
Oh, I'm on my own. Okay, well, the John Williams
I
score
was asking to go out.
Oh, okay.
I'm back. See?
Hey, you're back. What do you have? Well, of course you do, Todd.
But I filled the wrong one. But of course I do.
All right. Now, has that one made the Instagram rounds yet?
It has not. I don't think it has.
God damn it, Todd. I think you need to do that.
I'm back in the office now. I can't just sit here posting records all day.
Oh, that sucks. But when you do, follow Todd on Instagram, please.
Podcast.
Plug the Toddcast. Watch out.
I will Todd, I will link your Instagram to the show description,
right.
The show details at the end of everything, because I'm that kind of friend. Anywho, the John Williams score is really interesting. That they do that. The themes are definitely different. There's more of that that high biblical feel to it.
Right. I would say I think the score for Raiders is a little bit more memorable.
Yeah.
I mean, not taking away anything from this Last Crusade. Last Crusade is still solid, but I mean, if I were think of the Raiders March, which they just kind of reused here with a little bit of expansion. The Grail, I mean the Ark theme is just it stands on my mind a lot more than the Grail theme does.
Well, I would say that the one piece that really stands out to me is the leap of faith music, which is essentially what follows them through until they actually retrieve the Grail.
Mm-hmm.
And it is tough. It is tough saying that it is hard to compare this because most successful movies with great scores, it's always the first movie that's got the best score. Maybe the exception being Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So.
But at the end of the day, it's still a John Williams score, and it's still amazing.
Exactly.
Yes. And it fits just so perfectly.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Either lighthearted and goofy or these action sequences. It's perfect. And you can't argue that. It's perfect.
Oh, yeah. No, I will not dispute any piece of this movie's perfection. I really love this movie. And even the things that I complain about are so stupid nitpicky. Like there's that scene when the tank finally goes down the cliff.
And yeah, the
And in
CG
general,
on
it's about like twice the size of a regular human being as he's,
yeah,
and then the doll kind of falls out when it hits the ground.
that's RoboCop 1 level CG right there.
But not RoboCop 2. Oh, yeah.
My hands are getting bigger. Ah!
So what else do y'all have to say about Last Crusade?
I asked my niece and nephew the other day. They love these movies. They've seen these three. I don't know if they've seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but they don't count it as part of my brother. He's with us on this one, but I said, would you rather snakes, bugs, or rats? And they said rats for sure. And I said, but they're rats in gasoline, and you have to go under the gasoline and open your eyes to find where you're going, and they're crawling through the crypt, and just ugh. All three of those sequences in these movies are the stuff of nightmares, first of all, but are really incredible suspenseful filmmaking, and not in a gross out way either. And you have to really commend Spielberg for that, because it could have easily have been just disgusting, but it was suspenseful and creepy, and also, when you think about it, disgusting. I love that.
Exactly. And if you go back to Temple of Doom, that it did actually resort to gross out humor earlier with the feast of the eels and the chilled monkey brains.
But that
before you get to the bugs.
Oh.
Yeah, but you're right about that. The rats, just how many rats there were, and just watching rats climbing on top of each other is,
yeah, rats and gasoline. Watch out.
Yep.
Both Raiders and Last Crusade, they both have that one kind of gross out moment at the end. But I would say the Last Crusade is like kind of a little bit less gross out.
Yeah, with
are you talking about when Donovan ages?
Yeah.
As opposed to the face melting.
Yeah. I mean, the face melting is branded onto my brain. I will never forget the first time I saw that.
But I mean, as you said, Andy, whether you choose Raiders or whether you choose Last Crusade, you do not choose poorly.
He chose poorly.
Another one that we say a lot.
He chose poorly, or he chose wisely.
Yeah, I'm just thinking again about what Todd was mentioning about Donovan, and just like he picks the most just elaborate cup as the cup of Christ.
No, because he picks the cup that looks like it's for King of Kings.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas he should have looked for the one that looks like the son of a carpenter.
Yeah.
What a great scene. Yeah.
It's just a fantastic scene too. And can you imagine how much fun they must have had and the props thing? Just coming up with all these different things of what you think the Grail should look like.
Yeah.
I wonder how many of those designs were, was it always thought that it was going to be this rustic looking cup, or was it supposed to be one of those more ornate ones? And how many of those designs did they go through? I think that'd be
I would think that they would always kind of know that it was going to be the most simple cup. But it must have been really fun just designing all the most elaborate. I wonder what happened to all of those cups.
Well, they're buried with the knight.
Right?
No, I mean, like, what happened to the props?
Probably got reused for something else. I'm sure they ended up somewhere. Paramount is notoriously cheap, so chances are those ended up probably in the Phantom or something.
The Shadow.
Shadow is universal, my friend.
Like anybody cares at this point.
I understand, but it's a nerd talent I'm good at, so...
One of the other things I love about this movie is just the pacing of it. I don't, Mike. Do you have it up? How long is this film?
Yeah. Give me a second here. It
I want
is
4 hours 8 minutes.
128 minutes. Yes.
Yeah. So
What?
when you think about this, like you have that whole really great opening sequence, the flashback, which is pretty packed full of, it ramps up to the train chase, right?
Yeah.
And it comes back down, and then it ramps up to the sewer escape and the boat chase. Then it comes back down, and then you have escape from the Nazi castle, and it comes back down. So like it has this great rhythm to it, which is one of the reasons that I think it really works, because you have these moments of really great action mixed with a more subtle dialogue, comedy, romance. Like it has a little bit of everything in this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, that's something Spielberg's always been very solid at. He's always got a very good rhythm and really good pacing to his movies, for the most part.
It's also the other nice thing with this too is that this isn't, as Todd was mentioning about just kind of how it ebbs and flows nicely. There isn't any sense of sensory overload in this movie, which is something that a too big for its britches style of action movie could very well do. I mean, we could have gotten another Die Hard out of this one, but we didn't, which is fortunate.
I think that's what makes this better, obviously, than Temple of Doom, because Temple of Doom didn't really have that space to breathe, and it was very much over the top in its own dark way. I feel like they lightened up, and we're like, okay, we're going to lighten up. We're also going to let it breathe a little bit, which really works for this one.
Definitely.
Yeah. I would agree with both of you. Anything else we want to talk about with The Last Crusade before we wrap it up? No? All right.
It's great.
Well,
wonderful. I want to get my lucky lighter. My lucky Zippo. I don't have one.
Get it with a little 4-leaf clover on it.
Yeah.
So, Todd, let me ask you, when is the appropriate age that you're going to be showing these to Lily?
Lily has already seen Raiders when she was maybe 7. We just finished the Star Wars saga, complete with Rogue One and Solo and The Mandalorian. So I feel like she's ready. Temple of Doom may be a little out of reach right now, but Last Crusade she could probably do right now.
Yeah, I think if she can do Raiders, I think she can do Last Crusade.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is too is that you could logistically skip over Temple of Doom for a later date too, because it's not even, the movies aren't even chronological.
Yeah.
So I mean, as the timeline goes, it's Raiders, Last Crusade, then Temple of Doom.
I thought Temple of Doom came first.
Temple of Doom came first.
No, you're right. It did. Sorry, my bad.
Although there's really nothing in the movie that kind of suggests where it takes place in the timeline anyway.
Right. And it's also because it's such a separated story from everything else. And again, that's one of the reasons I really love the Raiders and Last Crusade, is that it does use something that, as a lapsed religious person, I'm more familiar with. I am more familiar with the Holy Grail. I am more familiar with the Ark of the Covenant than I am the Shaka stones of.
And you know what? It is a sequel, because when they're in the sewers and they see the little emblem of the Ark, he recognizes it.
Are you sure? Positive. Again, that thing with the rats where they just cut to them and he just looks at us, oh, rats. And there are the rats.
You wouldn't have liked it, Dad. There were rats.
Rats? Big ones.
Gross.
He would have never made it past the rats. He's scared to death of them.
Here's a question for you. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mike. Sorry.
They didn't make a snake reference in this one, did they?
No, they did. The snake reference was at the very beginning. We had mentioned that with River Phoenix.
Oh, well, yeah.
Just a snake.
And then falling in the pit of snakes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, you're asking, Todd?
No, yeah. Do we think, as a collective, do we think Indiana Jones 5 is going to happen? Given the state of the world and how old Harrison Ford is, what could they possibly do?
I'm of the mind I don't want it. I know whatever I think doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. but it is going to be some damn good casting. And you have to have somebody who understands why these movies are as beloved as they are. I don't think you could, you can't just get some dude who has got a couple of moderate action hits under his belt and then go, here's Indiana Jones now, enjoy it.
I think there is a way to do Indiana Jones 5 successfully. And as much as I love Harrison Ford, I don't think that's the way you're going to do it. I think the only way you're really going to be able to pull anything off, anything to the scale of like Raiders and the Last Crusade, is you got to do like a flashback of him, older Indiana Jones, telling a flashback story, and then have someone playing a younger Indiana Jones.
Which
I know people don't like that idea, but I really don't see any other way of getting a fifth one off.
Yeah, I know Harrison Ford has said nobody else can play Indiana Jones but him. But people did play Indiana Jones in the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles, right?
Right.
So, never seen
Right.
that.
And you know what? And, as much as people may not have liked Solo, I thought Alden Ehrenreich played a really good young Harrison Ford in that one.
I agree with that. I just, I think that his career shouldn't be, let me take all of Harrison Ford's older roles and make them younger.
I'm not saying he should be young Indiana Jones. I'm saying just that's an example of someone that people can play young Harrison Ford.
Wait, Andy, you don't want to see Son of Air Force One coming to theaters next summer? Come on, let's do this.
Getting off your plane again.
Fugitive Junior, let's go.
Get off my boat.
Do this.
It's and the funny thing is too, now that I think about it, in terms of how like this genre of movies has changed. I mean, right now I think the closest thing that we have to anything resembling this style of adventure film is actually the Jumanji movies, the new Jumanji movies.
Ooh. That's a good call.
Thank you.
Oh.
I mean, I wouldn't trust Jake Kasdan to direct an Indiana Jones movie, but
imagine if the villain for Indiana Jones 5 is The Rock.
I'd take that.
I would absolutely take that. And then I know that there's been talk about Uncharted becoming a movie series as well, which
they already started filming that.
Yeah, that's right. Isn't Tom Holland playing Nathan Drake?
Yeah, young Nathan Drake. Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that, but it's
Tom Holland. And I like the games. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. It's a tough call as to where are we going to find our action going forward now. And if it's a young Nathan Drake, that means it could take place in the 80s as opposed to when we were in the 80s and these movies took place in the 30s, It's a bygone age of some sort.
Crazy.
So, yeah. Well, that was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. What are your thoughts on that movie? Please leave a civil comment below. Don't forget to like this video, give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Geek Salad because we're putting this stuff out every week. We are sweating in our apartments, our homes, in our bedrooms, in our basements.
I got my AC on, so I'm not sweating.
Okay, well, that's good. I turned off any ancillary sound for tonight, so I am. And we're bringing you this fantastic content, so please subscribe. Also, Mike, Todd, and I host a little podcast called Geek Salad. You can get us wherever you get your podcasts, and you can follow us on the socials at Geek Salad Radio on Twitter and Geek Salad Podcast on Facebook. And so check those out. Also, don't forget, Mike is wearing our lovely Geek Salad swag. You can go to TeePublic and use the keyword Geek Salad Podcast to find those. And we will, with any luck and timing, have new swag available for our 200th episode, which will be coming up sometime in the next month or two.
Hopefully with Todd on it this time.
I'm still working on Todd's design. Yeah, so you too, buddy. You too. So until next time, I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
I'm Todd.
Go forth and be nerdful. We'll talk to you later.